We have an opportunity to reinvent how humans find meaning and connect with one another. Anxiety is the signal of that. In this video, we're going to explore the deep source of anxiety and its hidden message. You'll gain insights into the signals of that source of anxiety and the message it's sending and the directions and strategies available to you to move forward. Anxiety is defined as a feeling of worry, nervousness, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. If you're feeling anxious at all about the future, it's understandable because there's some background signals that you're perceiving but may not be conscious of. Those signals point to the deeper source. Natural disasters are in our face: fires, floods, overheated planet, all of the things that tell us that something bigger, much bigger, is going on. Is this the way the planet self-regulates? James Lovelock felt it was because the planet is a living system and therefore responds to signals and information coming to it. At the planetary level, I can't help but notice a possible connection between the signals from the Global Coherence Project and what's going on post-COVID in terms of people's emotional stability, well-being, anxiety, and a lot of ruckus going on the planet. There's also other signals. Humans have been focused on the exploitation of nature for economic or recreation purposes. I'm specifically thinking here of killing sharks so that people feel more powerful over nature instead of developing some inner security, shooting wolves from the air so that more caribou would be available, thereby eliminating perceived competition. And man has a habit of doing that under the belief that if you get rid of the predator, then more caribou will be available. You're eliminating competition also for hunters. It's a linear thinking. If we do this, then this will go away. But that's not the role wolves play in the ecosystem. All of these decisions reflect the linear thinking that isn't at all a fit for the complexity of nature or for the role that these and other species play. Man has not yet grasped, not yet understood. My dad was a bird bander and a field-taught ornithologist. Every spring, summer, birds would migrate through our yards by the hundreds, sometimes the thousands, it felt like. Over the years, these numbers went into a downward spiral, and we knew that had implications. Nature is not reducible to the smallest bird or insect. It is expansive in scope, interrelated, and interconnected by design. Our way of thinking about it is very narrow, disassociated from what it takes to support life on the planet. E.O. Wilson, the naturalist, said, if all mankind were to disappear, the world would regenerate back to a rich state of equilibrium that existed 10,000 years ago. If insects were to vanish, the environment would collapse into chaos. As of 2019, more than 40% of insect species are declining and a third are endangered. I look around my neighborhood and I see pest control trucks. Urban wildlife and insects are being exterminated. Species diversity is required for balance and resilience. We haven't got that clear in our minds yet. We do not understand that. So instead of cohabiting, we were deleting them and deleting human connection to life and resilience. Intuitively, you have a feeling, and anxiety is your signal that this is what we're doing. My name is Dawna Jones, and I've been on this mission to reconnect decisions back to caring about this incredible planet we live on. In about 2002 or 3, my daughter was almost graduating from high school. I was exhausted. I was a single parent running a consulting, professional, facilitation, leadership development company. I had no juice left. So I booked off to reconnect and get realigned with what mattered to me. I needed to get off the gerbil wheel and then reset to make a bigger difference. After rolling out an intuitive facilitation course and then a personal growth for business program, no response, crickets. The status quo was on a rigid track. By 2009, I lost everything. I found myself in the parking lot of a building. I had lost my apartment and home. My car was packed to the brim with stuff overflowing. Over the next 4 years, all my real estate and stock investments went down, all at a loss. I was on the road for 9 years, sometimes wandering, sometimes staying with people I either didn't know or I barely knew. Sometimes I was dog and cat or house sitting. The pressure to get a job, any job, was high. We cannot control the external events around us, but we can control our reactions to them. Whenever you're going to move into new territory, it's going to make you anxious and nervous, but you keep moving through and something better comes. I was a single parent. In 2003, my daughter was almost graduating from high school, and I was exhausted. Running a consulting, professional facilitation, leadership development company, I had no juice left. I was out, tapped out. I used the moment to reconnect and be true to myself. I decided to get off the gerbil wheel, get my bearings, and make a bigger difference. I was ahead of my time, as it turns out. After rolling out an intuitive facilitator course and then a personal growth for business program and hearing crickets, like nothing, it became clear that the status quo was what was being chosen unconsciously. It was routine habit. Let's just keep doing what we've always done. And that provides stability or stagnancy, as it turns out. So by 2009, I lost everything. I found myself in the parking lot of the building where I lost my apartment, my home. And over the next 4 years, my real estate and stock investments all went down, all at a loss. It's like, 10 properties all told. In the end, I ended up on the road for 9 years, sometimes wandering, sometimes staying with people I didn't know or barely knew. I had to learn to receive. This was a big deal for me because I was this self-reliant, independent person. It forces creativity when you're working under constraints like that. I did a lot of cat sitting, dog sitting, and house sitting. You could be a digital nomad, but it was a pretty epic fail from a societal point of view. At my age, you're supposed to have achieved a whole bunch of things, ticked off a bunch of material boxes, and I didn't have any of that. So this was interesting. The pressure to just get desperate, to get a job, any job, was high. My family suggested I become a greeter at Walmart, which was laughable. Nothing against greeters at Walmart, but it's just not my place. It's not where I can thrive or be healthy. I would have gone down very quickly had I tried something like that. I did try getting a job, an hourly wage, and I lasted a month. But the first week I broke out in cold sores, and it was a mess. I learned a lot from that experience about how people perceive you, how they value you based on what they value and what's important to them and the values that go with every generation. The way through it was simply because I had a vision. My vision involved humans adapting to the speed of change and caring about the other species we share the planet with. My vision was one that placed trust in human ingenuity and the ability to adapt. It's the highest form of intelligence. Demonizing nature, wildlife, and insects really just keeps nailing down disconnection from meaningful life, resilient relationships, and a level of uncontrollable complexity. So what is the deep source? It's the breach from our connection to all life. Humans have been exploiting without regenerating and giving back. The planet has been mined, dynamited, poisoned, and dismissed as a servant to mankind. This creates dissonance. And because you move around on the surface of the planet, you feel it, particularly if you are a more sensitive side, you feel it. That's what drives your anxiety. What is viewed as strong, being defined as being dominant over other species, other people, other races, other nations, is actually weak. It's not life-affirming. Other than destruction, it lacks purpose. So the hidden message of anxiety then points us to the question, what if the tension from polarization, from anxiety, is a call to connect to purpose, meaningful purpose, life-affirming purpose? What is purpose? Well, it's the need for an overarching, self-organizing, future-oriented aspiration that energizes one's efforts and provides a central source of meaning and significance in one's life. Those are the words of Scott Barry Kaufman. When purpose is shared, there's a collective focus on creating something that matters, that makes a difference. It starts with having a vision that you can feel really deep inside. It's not words. It's visceral and deeply meaningful. We know this from neuroscience. We know it from experience. The directions and strategies come from Alice in Wonderland. Alice had a conversation with the Cheshire Cat, you may recall, and it's about thinking big. Alice laughed. There's no use trying. She said, one cannot believe impossible things. I dare say you haven't had much experience, said the Queen. When I was younger, I always did it for a half an hour a day. Sometimes I've believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. What seems impossible now, but could be quite probable if people work together instead of apart. What could that look like? Direction comes out of that. All you really need to know is what inspires you, what you'd commit to achieving. So when the going gets rough, you have a reason to bounce forward and find resilience. If you're an athlete, you practice resilience every time you've recovered from an injury. If you're an immigrant or a refugee who's been through a lot, you know how to move through very difficult challenges. Start by imagining your North Star. You can use a vision board, operative word being vision. You can just talk to friends about it. What is possible? What would we like to do? So that's where you begin for now. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be certain, just has to be compelling. Then the next step will emerge. Comment below on what you'd like to see discussed in this channel. More references and research links in the notes. Please like, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.